Hello champs, this is the part 2 video of exception handling in Java. In part 1 video, I already covered the topic means the introduction about exception, what is the exception, what is the meaning of exception, and type 1 exception I covered in the part 1 video means checked exception is remaining, unchecked exception, all information about unchecked exception are covered into the part 1 video. If you are not watching the part 1 video, so please go and watch the video. After that you have to watch this video for clearing the concept of exception handling in Java, not only theoretical but practical way. Okay, so this is a part 2 video where I'm talking about the second type of exception that are remaining, that is known as a checked exception. So all information about checked exception are covered in this video. So let's start the video. Now let's talk about the meaning of checked exception. I'm just open my notepad here, and second window is my command prompt for giving the best example of a checked exception. I'm not using the VS Code in this video. Okay. So first of all, question is, sir, what is the meaning of checked exception? Because I already covered in part 1 video introduction about exception and the type 1 exception, that is unchecked exception. Now let's talk about the checked exception. What is the meaning of checked exception? So checked exception is also a second type of exception which is occurred at a compile time. Means compiler check the program and throw an exception at compile time. If you are watching part 1 video, in that video I'm giving too many example of unchecked exception. When I running that particular program, so you are able to see that in that program there is a no error at compile time provided by the Java. What are the exceptions that are occurred in those example? That exception are thrown at a runtime, not at a compile time. Means unchecked exception are exception that are thrown by the Java at a runtime. But when I talking about the checked exception, so checked exception is the exception. Means what are the types of checked exception? So for example, null pointer, not a null pointer, IO exception, or which is used for input output except type of exception. Second is a SQL exception or file not found exception for file handling. So these are the exception that known as a that comes under the checked exception. Okay, so the core meaning of checked exception is the compiler at a compile time check the program. Is there any method that are present in our program? That method may be occur an exception at when that method is going to be processed, or this method contain any line of code in which there is a chances of occurrence the checked exception when this method is going to be processed. So compiler at compile time just throw an exception and telling us please handle this exception because this method is contain some line of code in which there is a chances of occurrence the checked exception. Understand? Means compiler itself compile the program and throw an exception at a compile time. Yes, for example, this method means this main method throw an exception, so please handle that exception or declare that exception by using throws keyword. What I'm saying, compiler at compile time check the exception, read the program and throw an exception. Yes, into your program this is the method in which there is a chances of occurrence the checked exception at when that method is going to be processed. So please handle that exception now before compiling that, or you have to declare that exception by using the throws keyword. Means at a compile time compiler itself throw an exception, please handle that particular exception. Means our program in which there are any type of checked exception occurred, there is chances of occurrence of any type of checked exception, so compiler itself throw an exception at a compile time, not at a runtime. Means for example, in main method I'm writing some line of code. In main method, for example, I'm writing some line of code. In that particular line of code there is chances of occurrence the checked type exception. For example, I just writing here any line of code in which SQL type exception are occurred. Okay, and we know that SQL exception is a checked exception. Okay, so compiler itself tells us in your main method there is a checked exception may be occur at when this method is going to be processed, so please handle check this exception till now before compile the program, or declare that exception by using throws keyword. Okay, what is the meaning of throws keyword I'm talking about? So first you have to understand what is the meaning of checked exception. Means checked exception is also exception which is checked by the compiler at a compile time. If in your program there is any method which is throw and type of throw maybe throw type of a checked exception, so please handle that exception or declare that exception by using throws keyword. So this is the introduction about the checked exception. So now let's talk about the second point, that is what are the types of checked exception. Means what are the predefined classes that are contained by the checked exception. So I want to give you some example of that. For example, first one is SQL exception, okay, and second one is like IO exception. So SQL exception and IO exception, and third one is file not found exception. These are not only three. There are many predefined classes that are comes under the child exception. Means that these are the predefined classes that is used for handling the child exception. Okay, so these are some example. Now let's talk about the throws keyword. What is the meaning of throws keyword? So I'm not talking about the throw. If you understand what is the meaning of throw, so in part one video I'm telling you the complete use of throw. By using throw keyword, this throw keyword is used into the unchecked exception. Understand? So by using throw keyword, we are able to throw the exception type object in from the try block to the catch block. Now I'm talking about the throws keyword. What is the meaning of throws keyword? So throws keyword is used for declaring the exception. Understand what I'm saying? Throws keyword is used for declare the exception in a method. Okay, means if I using throws keyword, by using throws keyword we are able to tell the compiler please whatever types of checked exception occurred in that particular video, not a video, in that particular method. What I'm saying, by using throws keyword we are able to tell the compiler whatever exception are occurred in that particular method, whatever checked type exception that are occurred in the in this particular method, please handle that exception. I want to pass, I'm not going to handle that exception in this method directly. I want to pass the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. I want to repeat because this is a long sentence. By using throws keyword, we are able to tell to the compiler, please in this method whatever types of exception are occurred. Okay, by using throws keyword, we are able to tell to the compiler whatever exception, whatever checked type exception are occurred in the compile time. Please, and I am not going to handle that exception in this method directly. I want to pass the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. Understand? Means any method, any caller method, that method want to call this particular method in which there is chances of occurrence the exception. So that caller method responsibility to handle that exception by using try catch block. Means by using throws keyword we are only able to pass the handling exception to the caller method. We are not going to solve that. We are just by using throws keyword we are just able to pass the responsibility of handling the exception. Understand? So this is a use of throws keyword. What is the syntax of throws keyword? So I just want to write that. For example, public, this is a method, public and return type. Okay, and fun is a method. What is the syntax? So after writing the method name and curly braces and giving the space, then writing throws, then class name. Means for example in this public static void main method, there is a chance, we know that there is a chances of occurrence the SQL type exception, because SQL exception is a checked exception. So I have to write here SQL exception. Understand? So this is the syntax of this is syntax of throws keyword. Means I am just writing the method as we are writing, giving the space before curly braces and writing throws and writing SQL exception. What is the meaning of that? I'm writing the class name. Means this SQL exception type of exception are occurred in this method. So please, I'm not going to handle that exception in this particular fun method, I just want to pass the responsibility of handling part of exception to the caller method. By using throws keyword, we are able to tell to the compiler only. Okay. For example, in my fun method, not only one type of checked exception are occurred. In two or three types of checked exception are occurred. For example, in fun method, and there is a chances of occurrence the SQL type exception and the IO exception and file not found exception. So how you're able to do that? I'm just giving comma and writing IO exception and giving again comma and writing file not found exception. Okay, so you are able to see here what I'm writing here. So I want to close that. So yeah. Okay, so I'm just writing fun and writing throws. Now by after writing throws keyword, I'm writing all types of class name of a checked exception. Yes, in this particular fun method, there is chances of occurrence these three types of exception, these three types of checked exception that are occurred in this fun method. So by using throws keyword, we are just able to tell to the compiler, please whatever exception, whatever these three class type of exception are occurred in this particular method, I am not going to handle that. I just want to pass the responsibility of handling these three exception on to the caller method. Means any caller method I want to call the fun method, so that caller method is responsibility to handle this exception by using try catch block. So this is a use of throws keyword. Means we are just able to pass to the responsibility from one method to another method or to caller method to handle that exception by using try catch block. Okay, so this is the use of throws keyword. Understand? Now I'm talking about the second, not second, third point. Now, what are the options for handling the exception in terms of checked exception? So if I'm talking about options, so we have only two options for handling the exception. First one is whatever exception are occurred in one method. Understand? Whatever exception are occurred in one method, I'm not did not want to pass that exception by using throws keyword. Understand? Please, I want to copy that and remove. Now what I'm saying, what other type, what other I just want to write here, what are the options for handling the checked exception. Okay, so we have only two options for handling the checked exception. First option is I'm just writing try catch block. What I'm writing here now. Okay, we have two options. First option is I am just writing try catch block in that particular method in which there is chances of occurrence the checked exception. First option is I am just writing try catch block in this particular method, fun method, various chances of occurrence exception. What are, if I did not want to do that here, if I did not want to handle that exception in this single in fun method directly, so second option for us to throws the exception, means to pass the responsibility of handling that exception to the caller method. We have only two options for handling the exception in terms of checked exception. First option is we are directly handle that exception in the particular method in which there is chances of occurrence the checked exception by using try catch block. Second option is we are just able to pass the responsibility of handling the exception by using throws keyword to the caller method. So okay, so we have only two options for handling the exception in Java. Now I want to remove all these things. Okay, and okay, now I want to give the example of checked exception so you are able to understand how the what is whatever we are talking about. Practically I want to do that. Okay, so just first of all I want to do the comment here so you're able to understand the separation between them. Okay, like this. This is under comment, so it is not going to be printed here. I'm just right here. First of all, I want to import java.io.star. Mean, means I want to write a program for input output, so I just want to import that package here. Now I want to create a class, for example, file operation. Okay, what is this? I'm just creating a class that is file operation class. In that class I want to create a method public void read data. Okay, and so I'm just writing here some line of code for understanding the example of checked exception. File input stream fis is equal to new, and again write file input stream and passing the some argument here. Okay, I want to do like this so you are able to understand. Oh, now it's better. So you are able to see here I'm just writing I'm just creating the object of file input stream. So what is the meaning of file input stream? Why I'm doing that? So file input stream and file output stream, these are two classes that are provided by the Java. These two classes are used for doing the operation, means reading the data from the file or writing data to the file, means these are the part of file handling in Java. I'm not talking about too much, means how you're able to handle the data from the file and to the file. I'm not talking about, I'm just want to give the example of checked exception. So I'm just creating the method that is known as the read data method. In that I'm creating the object of file input stream. Now in file input stream I have to give the path of the particular file, means from this file for my file.txt, I want from this file whatever data contained by this method I want to read that data. So for that I have to create the object of file input stream and passing the path of that particular file in the constructor. Okay, so I'm just doing that here. I'm just creating the object and passing the path of that particular file in this constructor. Okay, now you are able to see here whenever I want to run this program, I just want to remove this. So I just want to run the program. I'm not using VS Code, so I'm just comes here and write. First of all I want to compile that Java C and writing the file name like hello.java. What is the output? You are able to see that. So please read the output very carefully. Output is, if I'm zooming here, output, read the message hello.java 16 at line number 16, means in this particular line unreported exception file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown file input stream in this particular line, means in this particular line exception is occurred. What is the exception? Means at compile time when I just writing Java C for compile the file, compile the program, at compile time compiler tells us please this is the in read data file there is chances of occurrence the exception, and the name of the exception is that is checked exception, that is file not found exception, means in this particular path my file is not present. So it's through the checked exception, means it's through the file not found exception which is a checked exception. So compiler automatically checked that yes in this read data file there is a any particular line in which there is chances of occurrence the exception. So this is output here unreported exception file not found exception must be caught. Please you are able to responsible for handling that exception, means my responsibility for handling that exception in this read data file directly by using try catch block. Second option is also provided by the compiler, or that is decide to be thrown. By using throws keyword we are able to pass the responsibility of handling uh, of exception to the caller method. So we have two options. I'm just talking about both of them. For example, I'm writing try block here. Okay, and then I want to write catch block here. Now you're able to see that, and I'm just want to print. Okay, so what I'm writing here, I'm just by using try catch block, I just want to handle that exception in this particular method directly, without talking about the without handling the exception, without passing the exception or passing the responsibility. Means you are able to see message unreported exception must be caught. So first option I want to handle, giving that, means I'm just, because compiler gives the error, means in this file there is a chances of occurrence the exception, so I'm just first option, means by using try catch block in that particular method I want to handle that. So save the program, and again I want to compile that. So you're able to see successfully file is compiled without any error, because if any exception are occurred in this particular read data file, read data method, I'm that directly write try catch block for handling that exception. Okay, so this is the first option I have to, where I am going to do that. Now for example, I want to pass the responsibility of that exception to the caller object, to the caller method. Understand what I'm saying? For example, I just want to pass the responsibility to the caller object by using throws keyword. I am not want to handle that exception in that particular method. For that, what I have to do, I am just writing throws and writing exception name file not found exception. Okay, so you're able to see here message. What I'm doing here, I'm just creating the data file, and I did not want to handle that exception by using try catch block immediate. I'm just want to pass the exception, or to handle the this type of exception that are occurred in read data file to the caller method. Means now which whenever caller method want to call the read data file, so that method responsibility to handle that exception, handle that exception that are occurred in this method by using try catch block. So I'm just want to create a public hello, public class hello, and now I want to create a public static void main method. Okay, so you are able to see here. Now I want to call the method read data method for seeing the second example. Means first example I want to tell you must be caught, means whatever exception are occurred in read data file, please caught in that method directly. So I'm doing that. Now I'm talking about second option, that is declare to be thrown. Means I just read it right here, throws keyword. So throws keyword used for declare the exception, whatever exception is occurred in read data file is responsibility of caller object, caller method. So I'm just create the object of file operation class object file operation. Now by using this object I want to call read data file. Okay, you are able to see here what I'm doing here. I'm just calling the read data file, read data method. So run the program and see the output. I just again want to compile. First of all I want to save that, and I want to compile that program. So you are able to see the message here. Again message is completely right, I mean it's completely same. Unreported exception, file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Means but difference here is, now this error or this exception is occurred at this line, means in this main method are occurred. Means I'm just passing the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. Means any caller method that want to call this read data method, that method responsibility to handle that exception. Understand, that method responsibility to handle that exception. For that, means now it's time to responsibility of main method to handle that exception that are occurred into read data file. Understand now, because read data file just passing the responsibility of handling the exception. So now it's time to responsibility of handling the exception of main method. So main method also two option. First option is whatever exception are occurred in this method. Again main method have two option. First option, whatever exception are occurred, main method directly do that by using try catch block. Second option is also it all main method also able to pass the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method, that is JVM or Java. Means programs running of the program starts from the main method. So whatever exception are occurred in main method is responsibility of handling the exception passing to the Java. In that case, Java default catch mechanism is used for handling that exception. Okay, so one by one I would doing both of them. So first option is, means I'm just passing the responsibility of handling the exception from read data file to the caller method. Now it's time, my main method is a caller method, so main method responsibility to handle that exception. So I'm just writing try clock here. Okay, I want to do separately. So first of all I want, now you're able to see here. So I'm just writing try catch block in main method, which is a caller method. So this method responsibility to handle that exception, whatever occur in read data file method. Okay, so system.out.println and write here e.get message. Okay, so I'm just doing the first option for main method, means whatever exception are occurred in read data file, that is responsibility. I am just passing the responsibility of handling the exception by using throws keyword to the caller method. Now my caller method is main method, so main method responsibility to handle that exception that are occurred into the read data file. So I'm doing that, means I'm just want to use try catch block for handling the exception that are maybe occurred in the read data file. I just want to save the program, and now again I want to compile that. Now you're able to see successfully file is compiled now, because in this file method I'm just passing the responsibility to the caller method, and caller method uh, doing its responsibility very well. Means caller method used by using try catch block, caller method handle that exception that are occurred into the read data file, read data method. Understand? So this is the use of throws keyword. This is the use of try catch block in terms of checked exception. Now I'm talking about the, I'm telling you main method also have a responsibility. If I want to do something here, for example, if I want to print message system.out.println, okay, and I want to give this like I am last line. Okay, now for example I'm just want to again compile the file. You are able to see that compile file is successfully compiled. I want to run that file, so for running I have to write Java and then file name. Okay, only, not extension. Now you are able to see successfully compiled. Output here is Java hello d file by text. This system cannot find the file specified, means whatever I giving the path, Java did not able to find that path into my system in my file. And last line is successfully printed, means after occurring the exception, catch block is used for handling the exception, and this line means remaining code of our main method is run. Understand? Means I'm last line message is printed now when I'm using try catch block for handling the exception in main method. Now I want to go second option. I was telling that the main method also have two responsibility. First, I am telling that read data responsibility. First one is handle the exception in that method directly. Second option, by using file by using throws keyword, we are able to pass the responsibility to the caller method. Now caller method responsibility to handle that exception. So caller method do that very well. Okay. If caller method does not want to handle that exception, okay, if I did not want to handle that exception that are occurred into the data file, what I have option. So main method, this is also method, so this method also have two option for handling the exception, for handling the child exception. First option is by using try catch block, exception are handled here, we're able to see. Second option, by using throws keyword, we are main method also passes the responsibility of handling the exception to the Java. So JVM automatically, the JVM is used the default catch mechanism, Java default catch mechanism at that moment of time used for handling the exception. For example, I want to remove this. Okay, let's I did not, and I want to call the object dot read data file. Okay, so I do not want to handle that exception. So main method also two options for handling the exception. First one is by using try catch block, we are able to handle that. Now I'm talking about second option by using throws keyword. Main method also pass the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. So in this, because program start from main method, so caller method is automatically Java. So Java default catch mechanism used for handling that exception that are occurred into this particular method. So I'm just writing throws, and I want to write file not found exception. Okay, so you're able to see here I'm just writing throws file not found exception. So I am not want to handle that exception that are occurred in this particular line whenever we are calling the read data file, read data method. So responsibility of handling the exception I want to pass to the Java. So at that moment of time, Java default catch mechanism used for handling that exception. Now I want to compile that program. Okay, so you are able to see that file successfully compiled because I am just passing the exception. For this, for read data file, I am just passing the exception to the caller method. Main method is our caller method, and main method also passing the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. But in terms of main method, caller method is Java or a JVM. So and at moment of time, Java default catch mechanism is used for handling that exception. Now I want to run the program. Okay, I'm just starting java.hello and run the program. So you're able to see that output is very messy, like, or you are not able to understand what is the output here. Java.base file not found exception native method blah blah blah, means too many exception are occurred here. We are not able to understand what is the exception. Second thing is remaining portion of the main method is not run. This is the problem. When I want to pass the responsibility of handling the exception to the Java, means whenever Java default catch mechanism is used, at that moment of time remaining code of the main method is not run, because control, whenever control comes in second line of the main method, at that moment of time this is there is chances of occurrence exception. So control goes from this line to the default catch mechanism. At that moment of time remaining code of the main method is not run. Now you're able to see in this output there is a no message of last line is I am not, last line is not printed because this line is not execute. Okay, so control goes from second line to the Java default catch mechanism. So whenever we want to pass the exception handling responsibility to the Java default catch mechanism, at that moment of time the normal flow of our main method is not maintained. If you want that the normal flow of our main method is maintained, you are want to maintain the normal flow of our main method, so you have to use try catch block for handling that particular method, to handling that particular exception. Okay, so this is the first example of this is second first example of this particular type of example, read data file. And now, so I did not want to throw that, because if I'm throwing that exception at that moment of time, the remaining code of our main method is not running. So I'm just, the best option for us, for developer, is by using try catch block we have to handle that. Okay, so I'm just writing comes here and system.out.println and write like here e.get message. Now whenever we are just writing, whenever we are just handling the exception by using try catch block in main method, in that case the normal flow of our program is maintained. Now if I just compile the file and run the file, then you are able to see that message is completely printed here, output is right, and the remaining code of our main method is run, means normal flow is not disturbed when we are using try catch block for handling that exception. If we are also, if we did not want to do that, if I am passing the exception of responsibility of handling the exception to the Java, or whenever Java default catch mechanism is used, at that moment of time default catch mechanism used, then remaining code or rest code of main method is not execute. Now I'm talking about second method. For example, I just want to create the second method, public void write data. Okay, and here I just want to create a data is equal to im content. Okay, now I want to create the object of file output stream, which is used for printing the data, printing the message from the program to the file, for writing it from writing the data into file output stream. This is a class of file handling. This is a part of file handling. I'm not talking about that. FOS is equal to new, and just writing file output stream. Okay, and passing the message here, passing the path d, for example, my file dot txt. Okay, so I'm just creating the object of file output stream, and I just want to run that. Now if I save the program first of all, and I want to, for example here, for example, if I want to run the program, compile the program java c hello dot java. Okay, so it's again give the error that is unreported. What is that? So first of all, I want to again comes here. Okay, so I want to close that window, and I want to open the here Java practice and type cmd and close here with the with my notepad. Okay, so I just want to compile the file java c dot hello dot java. Now you're able to see the message unreported exception, file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown in that line. File output stream means this line, means we're not talking about second line. In second line there is a chances of occurrence the exception, means in file output stream there is a exception occur that is known as a file does not found, means we are not able to found that java did not able to found the file that I give the path here. Okay, so it thrown a child exception. So we have again two options for handling that exception in this particular file, or by using throws keyword we are able to pass the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. Now if I want to compile the file again, so successfully compiled. Now for example, if I want to again I want to call the write data file. Okay, this is a caller method, means main method is a caller method, and in write data file, in write data file, in that not file, in write data method. Okay, in write data method I'm just passing the responsibility of handling the exception to the caller method. Now caller method is main method. I'm not writing try catch block for handling that exception. I just want to compile that. So object dot write data means whenever you are calling that method. So this is now again same exception occurred at compile time, means main method responsibility to handle that exception that occurred in this line, or you are able to do that for you are able to handle that exception by using try catch block, or second option by throws keyword you are able to throw the handling of responsibility of handling the exception to the java at that moment of time. Same here, java default catch mechanism is used for handling that exception, but problem is the the flow of execution of a main method is disturbed, means after this line the rest of the code is not going to be executed. So best option for us is we have just write try catch block that used for handling the exception that are occurred into this particular line. Okay, just I want to copy paste here. I did not want to write again and again. So I'm doing again here. In main method, I am not going to throws the key by using throws keyword. I'm not want to throw the responsibility of handling the exception to the Java, because if Java handle that exception, in that case the normal flow of a main method is disturbed. I did not want to. I want to maintain the flow of a program, execution of a program. For that purpose, I have to use by using try catch block. I have to handle that exception. Okay. Now I want to compile again this file. So successful file is compiled. I want to run this file. Java hello. So successfully file is compiled, and this file is not found. That is the exception, and message printed here. And I am last line is also means this line is also printed here, because the maintain the flow of a program, the flow of execution of a main method is maintained by using try catch block. We are able to do that. So these are the two example I am taking that for understanding the concept of checked exception in Java. If you have any doubt till now, so please comment and let's see whatever have happened here. So I'm just this is all information about checked exception. So I think all information about checked exception and second, that is unchecked exception, are clear in this video. So let's end the video. Thank you.